Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. It's Shirley with Spirit of Matter. And this day I am doing a natal chart analysis of Jaguar, Wright, who has been in the music industry and has been exposing many scandals. So she's the one who's been speaking about the things and the allegations that we are hearing, and making predictions for exposure of people. So it's a very interesting figure. It said that she warned the P. Diddy before the feds would raid the place. So on the one hand, she's like, she spills the tea, but she also kind of warned P. Diddy. I don't know why. And so I wanted to take a look at the chart of kind of like the people who exposed the scandals that we hear about in the music industry. So 50 Cent, I haven't looked yet, and there is someone named Cat Williams. Wait, is this cat the same cat that I'm thinking about? I don't know. And Jaguar Wright. So I don't have even birth location for Jaguar Wright. I have the day that she was born, so no ascendant. That would mean that I don't have the houses, but still there is a lot from the chart that is there. The planets that move slowly, it is so much so, on another note I had with Geert Wilders, I was looking at one source, the only source actually, that said August 6th, and he was like, on his feed on Twitter, and thank you, Mr. Wilders, saying, born on September 6th. So all the, and I looked even years back, because immediately I was like, oh, is he playing us? No, he's not playing us. Even years before that, the birthday was September 6th. But I saw that there was not much difference. Instead of his Mars being eclipsed with the Libra eclipse, it was his Mercury, with Mars closer to speaker, that's actually conjuncting the state of Israel, ascendant. And Jupiter would just be more present. It's just 1 degree away, 18 degrees still on Jupiter, but very likely with the moon. So it actually means that this eclipse is, the solar eclipse is even more. So you would be surprised how even a month forward doesn't necessarily change the slower moving planets. Definitely if we have the day, even if we don't have the hour, what we're not going to have is the degree of the moon and the degree of the ascendant. Sometimes Mercury can change signs. Now, what we have for Jaguar Wright. Jaguar Wright, we have sextile between Pluto and Saturn, both of them on the 11th degree. I believe this to be correct. They're very slow moving planets. So this tells me that this is the type of person who could endure, and if they have to expose something like she's doing, they could endure for years, because Saturn is time and Pluto is birthing, exposure, uncovering secrets, but it's also a person that can hold the secret about the structure for years and years and years until they decide to unravel it. So it could work both ways. Secrets being held for a long while and being released, but also a person who is whistleblower, if they choose to be, and that they can endure. Their words, their exposure stands the test of time. Another thing, I was seeing this Mars-Venus conjunction that basically would make the issues of Mars and Venus, which is like relationships, very prominent. And the Uranus opposing very likely moon in Taurus. So she has moon in Taurus but opposing Uranus, and Mercury in Taurus opposing Uranus. So this would mean that she would make controversial statements, and those are fated. So she's fated to expose the thing that she's exposing. She's fated to be the messenger. When you think about this eclipse with Mercury retrograde, you think about don't shoot the messenger. This was not mine. This was Astro Victor's title for the April eclipse. Don't shoot the messenger, and this is so true. So she's the messenger, and it's fated for her to be a little bit of a whistleblower and to have things. So if we would listen to Jaguar, I guess a couple of years ago, people would say, oh, she is bitter, she is this, she is that, and not for 1 second perhaps consider that she is right. And that's why she's bitter, and that's why she's mad, and so on. But again, with this combination of Saturn sextile Pluto and Uranus, with Mercury opposition, she would be the whistleblower whose message are provocative, surprising, but stand the test of time. Why did she warn? Is it true that she warned P. Diddy? Why did she warn P. Diddy before the feds come? I don't know. Like, why would you that exposed people would not want this to be exposed? I don't know. I mean, he was associated with human trafficking, with killing women, and so on. Another thing that I saw in this chart was Jupiter opposition Neptune. Okay. And this makes this can give a person a bit of disillusionment around worldview and beliefs. So it can be that sometimes she had high appraisal. Maybe that's how she got into the music industry. She was admiring people, but then she could be disappointed. So her worldview, she could be disappointed in some way, and perhaps the exposure is how she's dealing with that. What else did I see there? So the Moon Uranus. Moon Uranus opposition would give us also unexpected types of emotional reactions. So she could be very reactive, but not in a predictable way. Okay. And Moon, of course, is a luminary, so it's related to exposure as well. What was with Sol? I'm just trying to look at the chart because I cannot. Usually I do a live and I do a screen share, but now I cannot do this. And so I'm trying to look to kind of caption the chart and deliver it to you. Oh, Rahu and Ketu. Rahu and Ketu for her are on the 22nd degree. And so this is a person whose life path has to do with being exposed to stories about murder or issues of murder, or maybe people around them being murdered. Yes, hopefully not her, but she was exposing basically murders that were happening in the music industry. And so, yeah, this is very fated. And a lot of these exposures are very fated for this eclipse cycle. Chiron she has in Taurus, so she's not having a Chiron return yet. As Chiron will ingress to Taurus, she will be having a Chiron return. And I think this is all I can recall from like the chart. Again, we don't have a birthplace, so we won't have ascendant, midheaven, so we won't have the houses. And the moon is somewhere around Taurus. Oh, the sun. Yes, she has 26 degrees sun. She was born May 17, and this would give her Algol sun. Algol sun, I have met people that have Algol sun. First of all, for such person to work with, this is actually very good for her to expose atrocities against women. When she works with Algol sun, it's very remedial for her son, because you know the story for Algol, Medusa Gorgon. She was raped, wasn't believed, and then she was punished, and her anger for this misjustice made her a talisman of that could turn a man into stone. And magically, while mundanely this is considered the most, they will say, evil star, but it's not because Algol is evil, but because of the events that she's associated with. Yes, Ukraine war and Afghanistan situation recently broke around eclipses to do with Algol. And when you work with her magically, however, she's incredibly protective from just these type of atrocities. So, giving reverence and exposing stories of women, for example, that were abused, that were murdered. Okay, that's what happened to Medusa Gorgon. They were abused, they were murdered, and their stories and the corruption with it is incredibly remedial. And if she's working magically with Algol, this Algol is very protective of her voice, and this giving support to her testimonial, which is why I still don't get why would she warn PDD that the feds are coming. Is not in alignment to do this, in my opinion. But she is exposing a lot of scandals. Solo Algol, of course, can mean that she was perhaps involved in situations where she was a victim of something and wasn't believed. So this can be something that's very burning in her to shed light on these type of things. So any Algol work could be very remedial for her, to protect her voice, to protect her truth, to allow her to not have to associate, to not have to be pleasing, or to warn the people that are perpetrators that such things are happening. Okay, Algol-like experiences are not easy or pleasant, and so it's very important for native that has this to be giving reverence to Algol and to be tending to these issues, and to not do victim blaming or enable victim blaming, and move towards exposing those things. Yes, it's very important. Yes, Israel's son, by the way, is on Algol, and yeah, you see what happens when we don't believe victims. And when we don't believe women to tell us something's going to happen, something's going to happen. We see what is happening. And also we see the situation that Israel is in, where it's like, oh, now they want for the victims of the Nova to be believed, and so on and so forth. And the world is now involved with this, because now the sun is projecting to the world. And the question is the world going to give reverence to survivors of sexual assault? And if you have criticism towards, let's say, the state, then for using them or for using these victims, this is one thing, then maybe this is the correct criticism, rather than to deny and to be the type of person that denies, that doesn't believe Medusa Gorgon. Okay, so this is big, and we see how this shows both in the country chart, which is Israel's chart, Sun on Algol, and in a natal chart of a person, which is who is actually busy exposing things, but she needs to be cautious not to warn, people who are accused of trafficking before the Fed comes, when you know that you've been exposing them. Okay, so not to warn them, not to cooperate with them. Turn to Algol to protect you, to protect your exposure, to protect your voice. Your voice is dear, is important for the people to understand how much corruption has been on it, that it's been so much so that the person could literally not be a musician and not be in the industry and survive in the industry without being involved in those type of things, or being an enabler where they don't believe, or and for many of them it's been like, oh, they've been, I don't know, a fan of so-and-so singer, then so-and-so singer is accused of sexual harassment, and they're like, I don't know. It's like, darling, what do you don't know? What and so this is something that I think was more relevant for the cycle of eclipses in Scorpio and Taurus, and now we're kind of like at the forefront of this with Libra and Aries. I believe that Jaguar, Wright, is going to be exposing murders. because this I don't remember where Cat and Rao are, but I think that this is the topic and the issues that she's exposing is not just trafficking but literally murder. And so working with Algol is very benefic to her. Working with Andromeda, very benefic, like for her natal chart, and protective, so that she will not have to, you know, harlot herself to protect those people that she obviously wants to expose, and obviously for the right reasons. And she can sustain, okay, so she can sustain. We've seen her sustain. She's one of the people who have been kind of like the T-spillers / whistleblowers in the scandals that we are seeing, and the entire industry is expecting kind of like everybody knows who's going to be the next Wright. So, and really I don't know anything about this. I'm not in the music industry, mind you, or associated in any type of, I was listening to some music, but that's about it, you know. And so I think we all understand pretty much where it's going and what is the next scandal to be exposed. What will be the timing of this exposure? I don't know, but this is also honoring the people who speak up. And I know that there are conflicting intricacy around this and so on and so forth. That and speaking up, exposing such scandals is important, and even if we know the structure, even to understand just how many people are involved, just how impossible would it be to go anywhere around the industry without mingling with those who perform these type of atrocities, is highly important for us to understand. For many of you, young aspiring artists, musicians, people of the word, people who have talent and maybe try to learn to get into the industry, and always were told, oh, this is such a competitive place, so many people don't succeed, so many this, so many that. It's not about competition. There is place for our voices, there's place for our individual voices. When we have, you know, time, and when we are educated to do something different and try something different each time, there is place for many voices and for many concerts and for many artists. So it's not that, it's more like you couldn't get your, you know, your right foot in the industry without mingling with organized crime. Simply put, this goes kind of hand in hand. It's not just the music or the entertainment industry, it's also the academy, it's also every place where there are people who would be in a position to be of inspiration to people. They could not do this. And the people would be targeted in every which way. And so some of you saw the Corvan Out video, Sinistry with the other freeze. This was also one of the ways in which people would be targeted, and they would be seduced by people. Yes, so you say, oh, the person that cannot be seduced. It's true, but you don't hear the person that cannot be seduced. Maybe they're homeless now. Maybe they're dead now. Maybe they're, you know, like we gotta understand that this is the structure, and exposing how many people are involved, what is the place in the industry, how does it operate, is very important. So the voices of 50 Cent, of Cat Williams, of Jaguar Wright are very important right now. And please remember, it's not just the music industry. So I will be looking at these charts and honoring the voices and the people and the exposure as well. It's true, it's the system, it's the this, it's the that. It's also true that to speak up is important, and I give reverence to that too. So, bye-bye.